where hundreds of demonstrators attacked police officers on a road leading to the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. Just days after a brazen Taliban attack on a coalition base that left 2 U.S. Marines dead. Our Brian Todd is learning stunning new details about the attack from U.S. and British military sources, and he joins us now. Brian?
Joe, we've learned just how long the firefight lasted and some other new details on the tactics used by insurgents, including the location where they made their breach. The attack began under cover of darkness just after 10 p.m. local time, according to U.S. and British military officials. Some 15 Afghan insurgents, organized in 3 teams, first got through a fence on the eastern side of Camp Bastion, right by the airfield where NATO aircraft are parked on a flight line, according to a British military source. The attackers were carrying automatic rifles, rocket-propelled grenade launchers, suicide vests, and were wearing U.S. Army uniforms. Jeffrey Dressler is an analyst who's been to Camp Bastion.
Unfortunately, you can go to any bazaar on the Pakistan-Afghan border and buy U.S. Army uniforms. Because what happens is when these supply convoys are going through Pakistan and trucks get seized or destroyed, a lot of that cargo gets taken to the local bazaars and then is sold.
U.S. and British military officials tell CNN British troops from a Royal Air Force Protection Wing, along with a group of U.S. Marines, were the first to respond to the security breach. The firefight lasted 2.5 to 3 hours, according to those officials. When it was over, 2 U.S. Marines were dead, along with all but one of the insurgents. The sole survivor was captured. The attackers did millions of dollars in damage before they went down. According to a British military source, once the insurgents breached the fence on the eastern side of that base, they used handheld IEDs to destroy NATO aircraft parked on that airstrip. 6 Harrier jets were completely destroyed, according to NATO officials, along with at least 3 refueling stations. 6 hangars were damaged. But British officials say the attackers never got across the runway, didn't get near the area where British and American troops who share this sprawling base are housed. A British military source says Prince Harry, who's assigned to an Apache helicopter unit at Camp Bastion, was about 1.5 miles away from the firefight when it occurred. And like others who weren't part of a quick reaction force, Captain Wales, as he's called, went on lockdown immediately. Dressler says the base is surrounded by barren desert. Should they have seen it coming?
Well, I mean, it was in the middle of the night. That said, there's still ways to sort of keep visibility on what's going on. But, to be honest with you, I think where this attack reportedly occurred is probably one of the least well-defended portions of the base because there's not a whole lot of personnel around there. A British official tells us steps are being taken to shore up security at that base, and an investigation now underway. We'll make specific recommendations on that, Joe.
Now, if they cut through the fence or they blew a hole in it, it seems that they wouldn't really need the uniforms. So what were the uniforms for?
They would not have needed the uniforms to breach that fence the way they did. Jeffrey Dressler says that they probably used the uniforms to create confusion among the Allied forces who responded to that attack, make them not quite sure whether they were shooting at their own troops or maybe at enemy insurgents. You can imagine the chaos going on if you're trying to respond to an attack and the person you think is your enemy, it may be your friend. So that's why they did it.
Got it. Brian Todd, thanks.